really funny how we sometimes just kind of stumble onto movies. So we were finishing up the X-Files. We only have 2 episodes left, and we will be completely done with the X-Files, which we will be finishing next week. And while we were watching it, this kid came on the screen, and I was like, I know that kid. Isn't that the kid from Halloween 2018? So I looked him up, and when I did, I was like, yeah, it is. And I looked up, and I saw he was in this horror movie called Control Freak from 2025. And I was like, what the hell is this? And I clicked on it. Hulu original horror film starring Kelly Marie Tran from The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. And she even does the voice for Rhea in The Last Dragon. Anyway, I saw it and I was like, what the fuck is this? It came out in March, just a couple months ago. Not heard any single person mention this film. So I saw it was labeled as like body horror, psychological horror, monster horror, whatever. It had a bad rating, but I was like, those can be very deceptive. And, unless it's in the threes, I'll give it a shot. So I threw it on. And, I went on my Letterboxd, and almost everyone I saw gave it a 2-star or a 3-star. And like I say every year, I always come across, it seems like at least 3 to 5 films in the horror genre that everyone's hating on, that I just don't line up with the masses on. And this is one of those films. I really enjoyed the hell out of this, and I'm kind of sad that so many people are hating it, that it has such negative reviews on IMDb, that a bunch of my friends had 2-star ratings on this one out of 5. I'm just nowhere near that, man. I just really connected with this one. I think this movie has a lot to say. Yes, I do think that it feels fairly similar to a lot of body horror type of films. I can admit that. I do think that this film feels fairly derivative at times of other films, but I really like Kelly Marie Tran in this. I like her in, Star Wars, Rose Tico. I was a big fan of her. I know a lot of people hated on her. She got death threats. She had to go delete her fucking social media accounts and get a bodyguard full time, and it's insane. People are fucking insane. It's a movie. Move on. This is crazy. If you don't like it, stop watching it. Find something else. There's a million things for you to watch. Get a fucking life. But I'm sure after that she maybe didn't have the easiest time finding work, and she kind of moved over to some voice acting and whatnot. But I really thought she did a damn good job in this. So what this is about is we have a woman who is kind of like a self-help motivational speaker character. And she's doing a tour, and she is, picking and scratching at this, itch at the back of her head. There's something going on, and she's scratching. She's having marital problems with her husband. It's one of these stories where it's the person who knows it all and has all the great advice for everybody, but they are fuck-ups themselves. Everything in their life is broken. Everybody always tries to pretend, online, and when they're selling books, and when they're making videos, and they're up on stage and oh, I have all the answers, and they don't seem to have any of the answers for themselves. At home, they're fucking just as much of a mess, if not a bigger mess, than the people that they're talking to in their audience. And this is a great case of that, right? This is her kind of career falling apart as she's dealing with her mother, who is a nail tech. She has a place, and they have a very strained relationship. And then her father, who is this recovering drug addict, who works he lives in a monastery as a Buddhist monk, I think. I apologize if he's something else that I don't know, but every once in a while it's that's not what he is. He's this, and I'm oh, I thought it was a Buddhist monk. That's what it looked like to me, but what do I fucking know? But he's trying to recover, and he's turned to that, and they have this very disconnected, estranged relationship. And she's trying to figure out like what the fuck is wrong with her. Why does she have this constant itch? And she's very rich. She's very successful with what she's done. She's a wealthy person. She seemingly has this perfect life with her husband. They seem like this idyllic couple and whatnot. And behind the scenes, of course, she's unhinged at times, and she's really starting to fall apart. And kind of the transformation throughout this. And man, if you are affected by like skin irritation, digging into things, people aggressively scratching themselves, almost like the movie Bug or something, the William Friedkin movie. It has similarities to that with like, there's a lot of like ants in the movie that are like on her skin, much like crack addicts see like bugs on their skin. But I think there's a lot of great symbolism in here for like generational abuse, like hereditary traits, genetics of, your family, what's been passed down to you, stuff like that. And I don't know, man. I really connected with this. There's some okay effects going on at first with the creature, the monster, but towards the end I actually really liked what we got from the creature. There's some good shots with lights, with like shadow work that I really liked, but what I really connected with here, and this is definitely one of those like family drama horror movies that deals with like psychological damage and generational cycles, and her fearing having a child because she's going to pass it on to her kid and this and that. I really connected with it. I really cared about her. I really cared about what was going on. I thought the body horror stuff was unsettling and unnerving, and grossed me out at times. And there's this scene with the back of her head, and she really goes completely off the deep end in the end, quite literally at one moment. You'll see if you watch it. But yeah, I mean, this is on Hulu, and I just didn't see anyone talking about it. There's a new one on Hulu that just came out like this week, and I think it's a zombie one called maybe Outbreak, I think is what it was called. So I want to check that one out too. Hulu has some total gems every year in the horror genre that they kind of sometimes just quietly drop, and this one couldn't have been quieter. No one talked about it, and I think the reason no one talked about it is because they didn't like it. But hey, I'm the odd man out here. This one totally worked for me. If you're a fan of movies like Relic, with that the generational cycle kind of stuff, I don't know, I dug this one. So definitely check it out if you get a chance, and maybe you'll be like me, or maybe you'll be in the comments being like, everyone was right and you're an idiot. That's okay. There's always, a few films every year that I seem to be the black sheep of the community, and I'm like, I don't get it. I thought this one was really cool. So maybe some of it had to do with like the hate Rose, I'm calling her Rose, that Kelly Marie Tran gets, or maybe they didn't like her character, or maybe they thought it was too derivative of other films like it, or I don't know. Just worked for me. That's all I can say, and I recommend it to anybody who's into like psychological horror, body horror, family, hereditary type stuff. So let me know. I'll see you in the comments. Adios.